Boy, Lonk, it sure seems like you're stuck between some rocks and a not very hard palace. Hello and welcome to the Eastern Palace, the first real level of Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. And there was the first puzzle of Link to the Past, a button, you step on it, it opens the door. Here's the second puzzle, another button, you push it and it opens the door and you kill some enemies. Despite saying that, this game has amazing level design, despite all sarcasm that just emerged from my mouth. So, this game does a really good job of balancing puzzles and combat. It's something I don't feel like later Zelda games do as well, especially considering like games like the Oracle series. Oracle Seasons is like more combat focused, while Ages is more puzzle focused. And while in that context it makes more sense because there's, you know, two games that kind of split it up, it seems like later on in Zelda games it becomes more about like the puzzles and stuff as opposed to combat. Something that Zelda 1 was like. Zelda 1 was basically all combat. Especially whenever you factor in that monsters were hard as shit to kill back then. When you look back, it's like Wizrobes were like the hardest motherfuckers ever, and we're gonna go ahead and get our boomerang out just so these Stalfos are incapable of bothering us. We'll just, you know, knock them back and all that, just so we can get by them. So I've always stood by that Link to the Past is some of the best level design in this series. It's just really smart in balancing combat, puzzles. And it does a real good job for setting the standard for the rest of the series, this being the defining Zelda game, as I think I said a bajillion times last episode. I really feel like Skyward Sword gets a lot of shit, but it does a really good job balancing combat with the, you know, the whole new, like, battle system involving the more focus on swordplay, and they do a lot of good jobs with the whole puzzles involving the combat system, so it's kind of neat. And another game that I think gets a lot of crap is Spirit Tracks. Now, Spirit Tracks is kind of it has its rough points, especially with the overworld, which is weird because trains are really cool. I'm a big fan of trains. I used to have a bunch of Thomas the Tank Engines as kids. I was multiple children. Whoops, that's out of the bag. But Spirit Tracks has some of the best level design in this series. It's kind of neat. You can tell that the team that it's kind of a newer team working on it. A lot of like fresh new puzzle ideas. Especially since I didn't even recognize the first puzzle in the first dungeon to be a puzzle. I thought it was a shortcut that would bring you back later on in the dungeon. But that's it. That's enough about Zelda games that are not this Zelda game, because we now have both the map from way back yonder and now the compass. So the compass isn't as useful in this game as it has been in the other Legend of Zelda games we've played, because starting in Link's Awakening, it started telling you like where keys were, where items were, like all that nice jazz. While in this game, the only thing that the map will actually tell you is where the boss is and where the big chest is. Now, what the big chest is the dungeon item, but unfortunately, you're unable to open the big chest without the big key. Now, despite the fact that I just said unfortunately, I really love this. The big key is more useful than just a boss key. The big key is used for these big doors and for the big chests in the level that give you the dungeon item, whatever you desire to call it. And did we already have a fairy in our bottle, or... oh yeah, we did. Okay, so we're perfectly fine with only catching one fairy. If you hop into this pot, it takes you to the Negaverse where you can get fairies, and it's pretty neat if you are in need of fairies or are afraid of the world like I am. Because this runs may not be as pure of a 3-heart run as some people would like it. Well, I don't know if some people would like me to do differently, but as what people would consider a pure 3-heart run, because I am going to be using fairies on the account of that I am kind of terrible, and I just want the nice little safety net. So it may not be the most pure 3-heart run in the world, but I'm going to be using fairies, so I deeply apologize. So if we want the dungeon item, we're going to have to find the big key. And believe it or not, we're getting pretty close to it. You know, first dungeon is not ever going to be that big, especially since we're crossing over the ball pit that we just saw earlier. One thing that I really like about the level design of Link to the Past that later games, well, I can't really say that later games don't do, but it does a really good job about taking you through the level and kind of introducing ideas before you bump into them. Like, we saw the big key and a big door before we even found the big key. So it's just kind of like, hey, get you excited for things you're going to see later. And oh my god, all the anti-fairies were released from the pot. They won't move until you kill all the enemies. because once you do, you can come through here and get the big key. And I kind of like that the big key is on the same type of pedestal as the the big chest where you're going to get the dungeon item kind of remind you, if you forgot, you know, for some reason you've been in here longer than I have. Which is understandable, because I've played this game a bajillion times, and if it's your first time, you probably get lost and stuff. I know I always get lost in dungeons a bunch of times my first time. So, we'll come back and reap our rewards from finding the big key, open the big chest, and we get the bow and arrow. Well, we just get a bow, and we had arrows already. Whenever you open the big chest, they kind of jump you with these Stalfos who throw their heads at you. You don't see those guys for a while in the game, but they kind of just ambush you here. So, bow and arrow, standard stuff, projectile weapon, yada yada. These Igor enemies who we could previously only kill with pots, we can now also kill them with bows and arrows. Well, you're only going to be firing the arrows at them. I don't think you want to hit them with your bow, because your bow's kind of a valuable item. And now we're in a dark room. Ooh, you can go ahead and light up the dark room if you want to have an easier time with this battle, but it's not required at all. One of these Igors has a key, so you are going to have to fight them. There is no reward for lighting up the lights. The lights are just there for a convenience for you, if you don't want to stick to the light of your lantern. You want to take the right room before the left room in this case, because there is this room filled with monies, filled with rupees. There's some anti-fairies to dodge. They're not that hard to dodge, despite the fact that I just got hit by one. Anti-fairies in this game right now are kind of a problem. They hit you, they do damage, they drain your magic, so it's like, these guys are the worst. Anti-fairies will be our best friend in dungeons pretty soon. But for now, they are just a problem for us, so we want to avoid them, despite the fact that I seem to really like them and keep bumping into them. Don't know if that's instincts from later on telling me, or if it's just me playing bad. I will tell you the answer, it's me playing bad. Igors you can only destroy when their eyes are open. If you throw a pot or shoot an arrow at them any other time, they will just be like, hey, my eye wasn't open, that didn't count. Which seems to be a pretty effective method to not dying, because they are in fact still alive. Well, those ones aren't still alive. This room's gonna shoot balls at you just like the beginning. Oh my god, beginning room. If you know what you're doing and you just run for the top left button, you will not be hit by any balls. I did pretty poor there, and that I had to dodge a ball, because normally you can just run on through and not even give a shit. So, in standard Zelda fare, and I'm sorry if I keep just kind of running off to a corner, I have problems with my monitor, it keeps shutting off. I mean my Game Boy! I mean my Super Nintendo. Yeah, Super Nintendo. Red Igors, more powerful, can't destroy them with pots, you can only kill them with arrows. On top of that, it takes 2 arrows to kill them as opposed to 1. So be careful with them if you're gonna kind of like live on the edge and let them run straight at you before shooting them. Let's go ahead and get a sword charge. Oh, I wanted to spin attack them, but I did a pretty bad job on that spin attack. Oh, and these guys are just being pretty friendly with money. So just like how you wanted 100 rupees before the end of this, Hyrule Castle basement, whatever you desire to call it, you are going to want more than 500 rupees before the second dungeon. As you can see, we are sitting pretty good on a 500 rupee, our 500 rupee desire. You're going to want to stockpile a lot of rupees early on, because there's a lot you can do with rupees early on. And, oh yeah, we're also at the boss, my bad. So this is the Armos Knight, or should I say Armos Knights. So what they're going to do is they're going to hop around in a circle doing a little nighty-night dance. If you just stand still and just swing your sword, they won't hit you. In fact, they're going to start moving, and they're just going to kind of run themselves into your sword. Just make sure you are oriented the right way, that they will actually hit your sword and not hit you. Sometimes it might seem like they're going to hit you. Just be careful. So my favorite thing about this boss fight is they just line up at you to try and attack you. So lining up for them might seem like, hey, if we just form a line and run at him, there's no way he can get by. Well, you can just kind of beat the shit out of them then. They're honestly not that hard of a boss, but when has Zelda had a hard first boss? That being said, the bosses in this game will get increasingly hard, and also you don't have to shoot an arrow at every single one of them. I'm just doing it to be fancy, also because it makes me feel better to know that I'm spreading damage across them. Because when you get to the end, the last one will become red and chase after you. He's going to try and ground pound you. The best way to fight him is to fire arrows back at him, because they can hit him in the air, even if he hasn't come down to layer that you're on. I don't know why that is. Or you can just charge up a spin attack, wait for him to land, and spin. He's still honestly not that hard, even if he is red. You can even just still stand still and beat the shit out of him. So as I said earlier, when you beat the boss, you're going to be required to pick up a heart container before you get the special dungeon-y good thing that we want. In this case, being the Pendant of Courage. So you'll notice that my hearts went up to 4 heart containers. This is a visual glitch. I don't actually have 4 hearts, and I will show you as soon as we get outside, because we also have to take this back to Sarahasala. Every time you beat a boss, you get your magic power back, and I think it also heals you, but we're actually full health. So we'll let one of these Armos hit us, and you'll notice that my 4th heart didn't disappear. We pause the game, unpause, and it's gone. So see, we actually have 3 hearts. This is what I meant by visual glitches. We will always retain 3 hearts, even if our thing is lying to us. But don't worry, it will only lie to us whenever we pick up a heart container. It will normally be fixed by, I just pause the game, unpause, and it's gone. That kind of shaboodle. Shaboodle is not a word to my belief. Do not use it. So let's see what Sarahasala thinks. And he's pretty excited that we got the Pendant of Courage, and he's going to tell us about these Knights of Hyrule who were destroyed in a war against evil, and we're probably a descendant of them. So he's going to go ahead and give us a treasure passed down that lineage, which is the Pegasus shoes, not the Pegasus boots. I always say Pegasus boots regardless, so I'm sorry if I say it wrong. Now, you might have noticed me stand still times other than when my monitor / Game Boy / Super Nintendo shut off, and this is why. By holding A with the Pegasus boots, you can dash. So you might have noticed me stand still sometimes, and right now I'm just standing still because my monitor's off. I'm so sorry. I should probably get that fixed. Dashing is pretty good in this game. You can't turn. You can't curve your dash, but it is still a pretty useful thingamajig. It helps you get around quicker. You can attack enemies. We're gonna have some other uses, such as like ramming things and the like. And we actually do not want to come down here just yet, because that is Lake Hylia? I don't know if it's called Lake Hylia just yet, since there are a few name discrepancies between this and future Zelda games. So that square, I always call them squares, but that area of the map we were just on was actually our house, if you remember from when we left in the rain, because it's, as you can see, no longer raining. There are a bunch of guards in that area because, they're waiting for us to come back to our house because they think we're going to go back to our house anytime soon. Oh, these little guys right here. I don't know if I ever pointed them out, but those are Octoroks. I always really like their design. Actually, I might have pointed them out in episode 1. I honestly cannot remember. I am so sorry. I always liked Octorok's design in this game. Just little, more like real octopuses like they were supposed to be in Zelda 1. Although later Zelda games kind of took the image of their sprite and used that as what they actually look like, as opposed to being like horrible little octopus beasts. So these Moldorms, don't know what they're actually called. They seem like you're supposed to throw bombs or use your bow and arrow to kill them. I always just like to step over these little larger area you can get across. This is something that Link to the Past does a bit oddly, that we're going to see in a cave later on in the game, where you can squeeze through these passages that doesn't seem like you're supposed to squeeze through. What does he have to say? If you talk to this thief guy, he'll give you some money to keep his little place a secret, because, it's a secret to everyone. It's a thing. Oh, and oh man, it looks like we're gonna have a disgusting amount of money, and no way to spend it just yet. Because we are going to need lots and lots of rupees for this game. But our 500 rupee requirement that I told you guys about, we're not going to be able to do anything about until we have the second dungeon's item, which is a sham, not a shame, a sham. So we're going to have to come back later, and I'm sorry, BuzzBlob, I just needed by. And now I just hope we don't die. Speaking of dying, excuse me, this is where you're going to notice most of my deaths is going to be on the overworld as opposed to dungeons. I feel like I play a bit smarter in dungeons, because it's like, okay, it's like go time, we're in the dungeon, look, we just died to a fucking Octorok. As opposed to where the dungeon, not the dungeons, the overworld, where it's like, hey, we're a Hyrule field, we're having a good old time running around, nothing bad can happen to us, even though this is where most of our fairies are going to be used up. This, and of course, boss fights. I feel like there might be some boss fights later on that if I play really smart, I can get out without using fairies. But I'm not a smart player, unfortunately, so we're going to have to, live on with that, without my intelligence being questioned. I know I'm stupid. We don't have to dwell on it. I'm stupid. But ignore my stupidity. If you go ahead and bomb that little notch in the wall, you'll find the Ice Rod, our first item that really uses magical power. Ignoring the lamp, because you don't use a magic power for lamp, you just use fuel and you know, they're just giving us magic power as a replacement for fuel. And by replacement, I mean, this was the first lamp in a Zelda game, unless it was in Zelda 2, because I honestly can't remember Zelda 2 all that well. I don't think it was in Zelda 2, because Zelda 2 is more about, like, powers and stuff. So here we have a little fairy fountain, but this fairy fountain is more than a fairy fountain, and I don't remember if we ever used up our other fairies, so let's go ahead and try and catch you. If you are full on fairies, it'll just set the fairy free. This room also has something more interesting than fairies. If you charge at that, a bee will come out. This is referred to as the silver bee, gold bee, good bee. It's one of those. So what this bee is you catch it, and when you release it, it will fight enemies for you. Well, not like just fight them for you, but it will like run around stinging enemies for you. Normal bees do the same thing. They will fly around stinging enemies, but a normal bee, whenever it has fulfilled its duty, depending on however that works, it just flies away. The good bee, however, will just chill. He'll wait for you to bottle him up again. You might want to grab it if you have a rough time fighting enemies, or if you just want to speed through the game a little bit faster, and let the good bee out. I've never honestly used the good bee longer than wondering what the hell this special shiny bee is. But it also kind of introduces, like, hey, you ran into that thing and a cool thing came out. You're going to want to remember that because good things like that happen from time to time. So, welcome to level 2. This isn't really level 2, and I hope this is the right lever. The other lever will drop bombs on you, so we are not going to do that because I would rather not have bombs dropped on me. You'll understand later in the game why this isn't a full-fledged dungeon, and I kind of wish I would have grabbed that chest first. I have a feeling that it's either just bombs or money, whatever. If you do that, you get a piece of heart, and ooh, our shield actually deflected something. I've never been a fan of the shield in A Link to the Past, because it feels sort of random if it actually works, and by random, I mean there's a defined space where it will grab stuff, but I've never been really good about lining it up the shot, like letting enemies shoot me in the right spot. If you empty out the lake, there'll be these fishes flopping around, or fish, depending on what the actual plural is. If you throw one of the fish into a body of water, it will give you a 20 rupee, which is pretty nice. You know, nice little money, even though we're starting to come up on the 999, yeah. I was making sure I didn't say 9,000 accidentally. 999 rupee limit, which is a shame because we don't want our rupees to go to waste. But you know, whatevs. If we're gonna have muns, we're gonna have muns. Because we won't be able to properly spend money until that 500 rupee requirement. I'm sorry, I keep bringing it up. And then after that, we'll be able to blow money like no tomorrow, man. We'll just be throwing money down like it is nothing. So there are a few things I want to pick up. We're first going to go towards Kakariko Village. We're going to take a different way than before, so I'm not just going to cut ahead just to kind of show you guys Hyrule Field and all that. Even though I'm sure, you know, this game's legendary. If you've played it before, you know the way around Hyrule Field. If not, then you should please go play this game instead of watching me play. I assure you, you'll enjoy the experience way more, because this is a fantastic game. A Let's Play where the Let's Player spends more time begging you to watch a speedrun or play the game yourself than talking. I'm so sorry, I'm doing a bad job at this. So believe it or not, we are right next to Kakariko Village. If you don't believe me, here's the map. Kakariko Village is that area up there. And look at that wonderful map. Love that map. So first thing we're gonna do is we're going to just run on by. There's always a bee in that damn bush. I don't know why. I guess programmers just wanted to say, have a bee. Here's a bee. That's your bee. If you run into this, a book will fall, and then you get a book. Hooray for libraries! And since the book was on top of the shelf, we don't even need to check it out. That book we picked up is the Book of Medora. You're gonna need it to get into level 2. You're also gonna need it for a few. You're gonna need it for a few assorted moments of A Link to the Past. So this building has always interested me. This guy, he has a brother, what I assume is a twin brother, based on the fact that their sprites are pretty similar. But he got so angry at his brother, he sealed the entrance to the other side of the house. He was just like, "Fuck that guy! I'm sealed up the door." So for some reason, their brotherly struggle is not of importance to us. What we do care about is their backyard, which houses a race. So you can totally get a heart piece for this, as you can see by that guy. And if you get here in under 15 seconds, you get a heart piece. As you can see, it's not that hard of a race. I don't recommend trying this without the Pegasus boots, but you're welcome to give it a shot. I don't know if it's possible. I've never gotten it to my knowledge. I can't remember a time that I have acquired it without the Pegasus boots, but I've also never really tried, because it's not really, you know, too far out of our way. So it's like, why even bother going for it? But speaking of heart pieces that are weren't out of our way, sometimes you'll hit trees and rupees or apples will come out. I'm sorry, that's a completely different thought. I'm so sorry. But there is a heart piece in Kakariko Village that I totally blanked on in episode 1, and I apologize greatly for it. If you go in this suspicious looking building here, you're gonna find this guy, and he'll be like, oh, this used to belong to the thief Blind, and this was his hideout, and it was cool, or something to that effect. But if you come down here and you bomb this wall, you'll find a heart piece. What's more important, though, and by more important, I mean it's not really more important, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it, because at the moment it is... uh-oh, did I just mess... I am hoping I am not messing this up, because this is a very easy puzzle. Oh, geez, did I really mess up a very easy puzzle? I think I did. Yeah. Oh well, I just double messed up, because I was... What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to come down here, and you push the blocks in a certain way to get all 4 chests at once, because as soon as you walk out of the room, a few of the chests, the chests you didn't open up will disappear. I guess it doesn't matter, because we're about to hit our rupee limiter, but I just feel really dumb because that's not that hard of a puzzle. And then I go and mess it up, and it looks like it stayed, but I butchered it, because like if we go downstairs, it's gonna be gone, and it's sad times for everybody involved. I apologize deeply. Oh well, I thought they disappeared. I guess they don't. Let me remember how to do this, man, because I feel really dumb that I didn't get that, because this isn't that hard of a puzzle. Oh, there we go. If you push it this way, you get everything. And for some reason, they didn't disappear. I remember them disappearing. Maybe that's something it only does in the Game Boy Advance version. Because I've played the Game Boy Advance version a couple times, as well as the Super Nintendo version. In fact, I've sadly probably played the Game Boy Advance version more, because I didn't have a Super Nintendo as a child. So the Game Boy Advance version, when it came out, I played a couple times, and all of my fun stories about this game come from playing it on the Game Boy Advance, because most of my my early Super Nintendo ones were mostly just, I didn't know what to do because I was a dumb kid. My friend helped me, and we kind of figured it out together, although he had already played the game, so, you know, it wasn't so much figuring out for him. And I was going to cut ahead to where we were going, but we're basically right there anyways. And we wouldn't want to cut out one of these tense fights against the guards that we could lose at any given moment. I mean, we could actually lose at any given moment, because if these guys gang up on you, they can kind of be a problem. Especially the archer ones. I've always had a problem with the archer ones. You can deflect their arrows with your sword if you're good, but I'll give you a hint, I am not good. But luckily we were able to take them out before we got arrowed to death too hard. If you remember, we dropped off a piece of rotten fruit that teenagers like, over by this good old hag. And if you come to her, she's going to tell you to come back to the shop later for something good. Now, what you actually want to do is you literally want to come back to the shop and go into the shop where you will find magic powder. So magic powder is a neat little thing. If you sprinkle it on buzz blobs, they'll transform into like weird little guys. I think they're called kookmen. I don't know if they were referred to this in that game. I know that they're called that in Link's Awakening. But see, they become weird. I think you can talk to them. Tra-la-la-la-la, look for Sarahasala. Oh, that's actually a pretty good rhyme. So, magic powder. Its main use. You're going to be using it on anti-fairies. Anti-fairies, when you sprinkle magic powder on them, become normal fairies. This is very useful in dungeons, because you come across anti-fairies who were there to mess you, like, just screw you over, but now they're here to serve you. And let's just go ahead and just run past you guys, because I do not want to die at the moment. Even though we have 2 fairies, I would rather not die if at all possible. So, we want to head for the second pendant, and I'm not sure if Sarahasala told us where it was, but if you look at the map, you can see that there are 2 pendants on the map. One is red, one is blue. In accordance to Zelda traditions, you probably want to go for the red one. Well, in this game, you want to go for the blue one. You get blue second, red third. I know it's a bit weird if you played later Zelda games. For some reason, they changed it up from Link to the Past, green blue-red to green-red-blue. No clue why. Ocarina of Time just decided it was too cool and decided to change the standard when the standard had just been set. So this old guy's weird. You talk to him, he won't say anything, but he has a sign that says pay no attention to the average middle-aged man standing by the sign, even though he's clearly sitting. If you take the sign, he will follow you. He'll get mad for you for stealing the sign. So an odd character indeed. Just remember him for later, because he may or may not be useful, and can't go into a cave for some reason with him following. So we're just gonna walk off screen and totally not spoil the next area. It's totally not a desert. You didn't see that. Deserts in Zelda games, that would be ridiculous. Because I want to come into this cave because I believe it's a fairy fountain, and I would enjoy having my 2 hearts back, please. So fairies in this game, I always like them. They have like the antennas and look more they look more like butterflies, which I was always kind of a fan of. The 2D the Game Boy Zeldas kind of kept that theme up. If you look at them, they look kind of like butterflies. I don't know why I said that was kind of unique to this game. I don't know. They always look more insect-like in this game, where they look more like fairies in other games, even though they are very clearly human. Vultures drop money sometimes. They drop blue and red rupees, which are 5 and 20s. This is a Geldman, just a sand guy who tries to attack you, and that's a cactus. Don't walk into it. It hurts. So if you come up here, you're going to find a nice little cave. This is also next to level 2, so we're going to be ending this episode pretty soon. I apologize if it's been running on for a while. And if you walk in here, you're going to find Sarahasala 2! I don't really know what his name is, but he's, a village elder guy who looks just like Sarahasala, sprite recolor, all that. He's going to tell you to go get the Book of Medora. I don't know if he tells you it's in the library, or even if you would know where the library is if this is your first time playing. But you're going to need it to get into the 2nd level. And if you go ahead and blow up his house, just like you did Sarahasala, you get a piece of heart instead of rupees. So just remember that. Whenever you go into an old man's house, just bomb it. Why the hell not? So, we've met the second... Well, I don't know if he's not exactly a village elder, but we've met a second old guy who seems important. There's an old guy who seems important for each of the first 3 levels of this game. I don't know why. It's just a thing. I always thought it was neat. And I'm going to hope that this vulture will leave us alone, because we're on a pretty important standing pedestal thing. So I'm going to go ahead and just end his life, if he will. Okay, you can chill with me, vulture. That's cool. So if you walk up to this and talk to it, you're just going to get gobbledygook. But if you approach it with the Book of Medora, it's going to tell you to make your wish, and you'll be allowed to go through. And unfortunately, this vulture is getting in the way of our wish. And we'll go ahead and make our wish. And our wish is to get into the dungeon, of course, not totally to get like a better hair color or something. Something that's I always thought was weird with this game. Like anytime anyone makes like a ROM hack of this game, they always give Link yellow hair for like being blonde, and that always bothered me. Because, even though he's supposed to have blonde hair, as you can see in, like, the official art of this game, it just for some reason looks weird on the sprite. I guess that's why they decided to give him blonde hair. Anyways, that's enough about that. This is the 2nd level, the Desert Palace, and we'll be tackling this in the next episode. So, see you guys then! Hope you enjoyed it. Sorry if I annoyed you. See you later.